To solve an equation, we want to isolate the unknown. In this first equation, 3x minus 4 equals negative 6. I want to get the unknown term by itself first. So I'll add 4 to both sides. So I'm left with 3x equals negative 2. Now to get that x by itself, it's multiplied by 3. So to get rid of the 3, I'm going to do the opposite. I'll divide by 3. Whatever I do to one side of an equation, I must do to the other. So x equals, now, if either the numerator or the denominator is negative, it makes the whole fraction negative. So put that negative out front. The answer is a negative 2/3. Now the second equation has fractions in it. One way to solve an equation with fractions is to first find the least common multiple and then use the least common multiple of all the denominators to get rid of the denominators. All right, so for 2, 3, and 4, the least common multiple would be 12. 12 is the smallest number that 2, 3, and 4 will all go into. So I can multiply each term by 12 or the equivalent, 12 over 1. So since I have fractions, I'll use 12 over 1. 12 over 1 times 1/2 x plus 12 over 1 times 1/3 equals 12 over 1 times 1/4. Now I'll simplify it. 2 goes into 2 once, into 12 6 times. So 6 times 1 is 6x plus 3 goes into 3 once, and into 12 4 times. So 4 times 1 is 4 equals 4 goes into 4 once, and into 12 3 times. So 3 times 1 is 3. Next, I'll get the x term by itself. So I'll subtract 4 from both sides. I have 6x equals negative 1. Now that x is multiplied by 6. To get rid of that 6, I'll do the opposite. I'll divide by 6. 6 over 6 is 1. Do it to both sides. Now, since the numerator is negative, if either the numerator or denominator is negative, it makes the whole fraction negative. So the answer is negative 1/6. This next equation, you just have one fraction in it. The denominator is 3. So I'm going to multiply each term on all sides of the equation by 3, or the equivalent, 3 over 1. So 3 over 1 times r over 3 plus 3 times 2r equals 3 times 7. So 3 over 3, that's just 1. So I have 1r plus 3 times 2, that's 6r equals 21. So 1r and 6r, that's 7r equals 21. Now, since r is multiplied by 7, to get rid of that 7, I'll do the opposite. I'll divide by 7. 7 over 7 is just 1r. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 21 over 7 is 3. Now, if we have a fraction equal to a fraction, we can call that a proportion. We can also take a shortcut. We can multiply, we can cross-multiply. So I have 4 times the quantity x minus 9 equals 3 times the quantity x minus 5. So I'll distribute. So I have 4x minus 4 times 9 is 36. 3x minus 3 times 5 is 15. X's are on two sides of the equal sign, so I'm going to get rid of one of them. I'll get rid of the smaller. So subtract 3x from both sides. So if x minus 36 equals negative 15. Now to get that x by itself, I'm going to add 36 to both sides. I'm left with x equals 21. Number 5 another equation with fractions. So if I look at the denominators, 3 and 4, they both go evenly into 12. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 12 or the equivalent, 12 over 1. So I have 12 over 1 times 2/3 times x minus 4 equals 12 over 1 times 1/4 x plus 1. So 3 goes into 3 once times 12 4 times. So 4 times 2, that's 8 times x minus 4 equals 4 goes into 4 once and the 12 3 times. So 3 times 1, that's 3 times the x plus 1. Now distribute the 8 to each term inside the first set of parentheses to get 8x minus 32. Distribute 3 to each term inside the second set of parentheses to get 3x plus 3. Now I have x's on two sides of the equal sign. I've got to get rid of the x's on one side. Let's get rid of the smaller one. I'll subtract 3x from both sides. So I have 5x minus 32 equals 3. Let's get the x term by itself. I'll add 32 to both sides. So I have 5x equal 35. Now to get the x by itself, since it's divided by 5, to get rid of that 5, I'll do the opposite. I'll divide by 5. I get x equal 7. Now for 6. Let's get rid of there's no fractions, but let's get rid of the parentheses. I have 6t plus 12 minus 14 equals 6t minus 2. So if I collect my like terms, I have 6t, 12 minus 14 is going to be a negative 2. I have the same thing on both sides of the equal sign. We call this an identity. The solution is all real numbers. Any real number you choose to substitute into this equation is going to always give you a true statement. Now for 7, let's use the distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. So I have 6x plus 6 equals 6x plus 48. Now if I try to get rid of the x's, let's subtract 6x from both sides. The x's completely drop out. What I have is a statement that 6 is equal to 48, which we know can't be true. So we'd say that this is a contradiction. There is no solution.